Okay, we're going to reach up. Let's spread your legs this time. Wide stance here. Reach up, reach up. And we're going to pull across, stretching the front of our chest there. Just pulling across, widening our chest. You should feel that stretch right in there. And then down, up again. Another big stretch straight across the chest. I really love stretching. Okay, let's do some arm shoulder circles. Back first. Okay, just to review some of the Laban we learned last class. What were some of those movements that we did? Flick. Punch or thrust.
Slash.
What?
Slash.
Slash, good.
Glide.
Dab, glide.
Press. Ring.
Press. Float.
Ring.
Ring. Yeah, that's it. Okay. Alright, so let's all practice just around the room, and I want you to move around the room. Let's practice float. Yes, nice and orderly. You smell something, let it take you there. Oh my gosh, you just saw the love of your life. Go to him or her. Go to them. Go to them. Alright, now I want you to start slashing. You see somebody you do not like. Slash them. Okay, you see somebody you do like. Now slash them. And start dabbing. What are you dabbing? Dab, dab. Oh, dabbing a basketball. I got some itches. I'm dabbing a boo. Yes, that's the dab. What's the dab? And so you start punching. Use more than just your fist to punch though. Thrust with your body. There you go. You're drenched in water. Flick it up. Flick it up. Suddenly you're covered in mosquitoes. Chekhov. Okay? Now all these different theorists when it comes to theater and analyzing performance and movement, they all have their own ideas. We're going to talk about another guy called Meisner. We're going to talk about another guy called Stanislavski. Susan talked about somebody last week. So we have all these different theorists that we talk about, and they all have their own specific style, but they're all about movement, and believe it or not, you know, a lot of them learned from one another and came up with their own ideas. Connection of mind and body. What happens sometimes when an actor gets on stage, they say, well, I'm feeling this, but it's not coming through. It's because their body's not connected to their mind. How many times do you respond to something and you don't realize that your body's actually responding to it? Actions live in your hands, arms, torso, feet, legs, and voice. It's all over you. That's why when some of these theorists say you're ringing, yeah, that's a feeling that you're feeling, but it goes to your body and goes through your body and you ring because it hurts so much. Or when you punch, boom, it's going through. It's starting out here, but then it's going right to the arm and then to whatever object that you're hitting at the time. So all of these actions, all of these emotions, anything that's going inside your head has to be physicalized inside your body. And he does this in a number of ways. Alright, so face each other this way. Good, good. Okay, you're going to be number 1, and you are going to be number 6. See that? Who's empowering it?
She.
Carlin is. Absolutely. It's a power thing. Maybe spread the legs just a little bit more. There you go. It's a power thing. Leo is totally being taken over by Carlin.
She's pretty tough.
I know, she's really tough. time vocalizing. To yourself, though. It's all to yourself, not to anybody else. Nobody else is here. Vocalizing this time. To yourself. When it's time for yes, just
No.
keep that energy up.
No. No.
You're on your mountain. Keep that energy up, going continuously.
No.
Yes.
Yes.
Keep it going.
Yes.
Going.
Yes.
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 Alright, the reason why everybody did this by themselves, fantastic job. I don't mean to I'm sorry we didn't get to everybody, but just time-wise. But what I really wanted to, and what I was seeing out of some of you, what I was seeing out of half and half out of some of you, and what I wasn't seeing at all, that's why we did this. I'm hoping that you can really learn the difference between no, yes, I will do this, that hurts, I don't care, listen, all those different things. They're simple little terms, they're simple little gestures, but they mean so much. Okay, now when it comes to acting, you practice with those first, and ultimately those gestures go away, but it still remains inside the meaning of the words. And ultimately you project that gesture in your words, in your bodily movements. And that's the most important thing you can take out of today's lesson. Okay. You ever you're at home or something like that, and your roommate's there, or your mom, or somebody, and they're talking to you, and maybe they're telling your story, and you're really not listening. Has that ever happened? Yeah. That's something I like to call already always listening. You just kind of go on autopilot. Yeah, like, yeah, I hear you. Yeah, I hear you. You're doing something, whatever. You're thinking about something else, or you're like, but then you think about it, and you go back to I didn't listen to a word you said. You heard everything. It hit you, but you didn't actually listen. That's a big problem a lot of times when it comes to actors up on stages. They're just waiting for their cues. They just want to get their lines. Oh, how am I going to say this next line? And they don't actually listen. And the thing is the acting or the reacting on what they said means you have to listen to what they said. And that's where the acting is going to come from, is that the reaction or the actual listening. Okay, so Meisner's approach is to bring back the actor to his emotional responses and to acting that is firmly rooted in the instinctive. Alright, so what I'm going to ask these guys to do is they're just going to make eye contact. It's going to be a little disturbing, but go ahead. You just got to stare into each other's eyes. You might feel awkward at first, but you're making a connection. You're opening up this world into these two people. You wouldn't believe how connected these two people are right at this moment. It's amazing, right? I mean, I can move around, I might distract them, but they are so connected right now. You wouldn't believe the power of eye contact. Sometimes it makes us feel awkward. They might fidget, they might move around, they might, whatever. But that's fine. What we're doing right now is we're bringing the natural instinct out of these two guys.
You're wearing a sweater. They're wearing a sweater. You're wearing a sweater. They're wearing.
Okay, good job. You can break it. Alright. It's intense. Okay, so what we just maintained is we made an observation about what they're like. Okay, what they're wearing. You're looking, you're paying attention. You made the observation that he's wearing a long shirt. Okay, that's true. You made an observation that he's wearing a sweater. Okay, that's true. We're making observations, and we're repeating back and forth. Now we're going to change it up a little bit. Thank you very much, guys. Now I'm going to ask them to do something that's challenging. I want them to take a cue off of one another. So say Christy had said, you have gray eyes. Carlin would repeat, I have gray eyes. She would say it again, you have gray eyes, I have gray eyes. Once you've established that connection, somebody, doesn't matter who, changes it. Changes the observation. So after doing the gray eye bit for a little bit, maybe Carlin would change it, you have a koala hat. I have a koala hat, you have a koala hat. Maybe she wants to change it real quick and say, you have a lace shirt on, I have a lace shirt on. So you have to take these cues of when you're done establishing that she has a koala hat and she has gray eyes, that you move on to somebody else, or something else, okay? Do you understand what I mean, girls? Okay. So somebody just start.
You have long hair. I have long hair. You have long hair. I have long hair. You have long hair. I have long hair. You have long hair. You have long hair. I have long hair. You have long hair. I have long hair. You have long hair. I have long hair. You have long hair. You're wearing a necklace. I'm wearing a necklace. You're wearing a necklace. I'm wearing a necklace. You're wearing a necklace. I'm wearing a necklace.
Wonderful question. It's establishing you guys to make full focus on the person you're working with. It's like where all of your attention is on this one person. It's the repetition, the words mean absolutely nothing. It's the connection that you have with that other person. I mean, yes, you're making observations, and that is very important. You need to do that. But it's more about how you respond to the person, which we're getting to. Okay? And there were a couple things in there that was not about a physical quality. There was an exhalation of breath. There was a little laugh. There was a gesture of a hand. There was a nod of a head.
So we say like, you just have to do it. Like that?
That's absolutely. It's an action. Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Alright, you just have to do it. I just found my head. I just found my head. You just have to do it. I just found my head. You just have to do it. You twiddle your fingers. Twiddle your fingers. Twiddle your fingers. You twiddle your fingers.
The next step is it's been crazy because we're gonna start making assumptions about people. You're gonna see the reactions off of some of these things. You're like, what? You know, like for instance, you're sitting next to the person and you're like, you have curly hair. I have curly hair. You have curly hair. You like curly your hair. I like curly my hair. You know, and it's okay. Make the very honest. Don't make it theatrical, but make it a very honest response. You like curling your hair. I like curling my hair. You like curling your hair. I like curling my hair. You like curling your hair. I like curling my hair. You know, and the true response is how they react to it. You know, you think I'm ugly. You know, but I mean, doesn't that get you a real natural response? Doesn't it? Okay, whether we're covering up the fact that I actually think you're ugly or not, it still is a natural response, and that's what Meisner really was working on, the natural response, instinctiveness within ourselves, something that we can bring out with acting. So let's practice with a couple. Let's take a look at some of their styles and conventions. Now I separated them into two groups. Styles are more what I see as something like a kind of a basis, where they're coming from. Conventions are tools that you use in order to get to the styles. So taking a look at some of the styles, they wrote a lot of self-reflective songs. If you take a look at the song Cabaret, Sally in the story is really reflecting on herself and her life and her unborn baby, and what is she going to do, and is this the kind of life she really wants for herself? They worked with pastiche, which we'll talk about in a little bit later on, which is kind of like a conglomeration of older styles, like vaudeville. A lot of Chicago used a lot of the pastiche with the vaudeville. Camp. A lot of very campy things they put into their musicals, such as the MC and his wonderful songs, and The Kiss of the Spider-Woman, which you'll see later. Obviously, the concept musical, a musical that's centered around maybe a central metaphor, or a concept or an idea. Disenfranchised characters. Does anybody know what I mean by disenfranchised?
Sorry, go ahead. People who can't vote. People who
can't get education. People who
Yeah, outside.
Outside.
disconnected from society in one fashion or another, either by choice or by race or religion or heritage.
Disenfranchised in the mean, and for a lot of this, I really focus on, the three main musicals that they produced that were big hits. But Sally Bowles, very disenfranchised, not the best cabaret singer, but she's working it, trying her best, but she always thinks she's this international sensation, but she's really not. Molina in Kiss of the Spider Woman is a gay man thrown into jail for molesting a boy. Disenfranchised, ostracized, outsider. Ostracized.
Yep.
All right, now the conventions, like I said, were some of the tools. So we're going to talk about a lot of the vamps that they used, what those mean, the different types of vamps that they used. We're going to talk about a type of song that they so nicely identified as a screamer. Sounds very pleasant. The story song, we talked about that just a little bit. And of course the 3/4 waltz. They use that quite a bit. The 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Now it's got a nice little lilt. What is the music doing for you?
Creating atmosphere.
Creating atmosphere, absolutely.
Building some tension,
Building some tension.
anticipation.
Drawing you in.
Yeah, getting your attention.
Exactly, it's that kind of music. Now, if you take a look at some of the notes, they do occur on the downbeats, but only in the bass clef. But but it's kind of like that. All right, you ready? Here it comes. Here it comes. And what it was really trying to do, what Kander and Ebb were trying to give you like that smoky cabaret atmosphere. Now let's look at the cabaret vamp, which is exactly the same, but a little different. Notice the differences. Okay, obviously, what was the difference between the first vamp and the second vamp?
Tempo.
Tempo, okay.
The accents.
The accents, absolutely.
Use of instruments, some different.
Yes, you got a little bit more brass.
Brass
Yes.
in there, yeah. It was agitated.
Okay.
I mean, it sounded like there were not more minor sounds, but a little bit more discordant.
More distance, yeah. Discordant.
Which also suggests the song. The first one is trying to lure you in, but in cabaret, the story's messed up by now. You're so involved that it's such a complicated story, and then possibly the vamp is reminding you of that. Yeah.
And I like the way that the bass notes, you get double it's double its octave, so it's like you're drudging along the weight that you didn't have at Vilkeman. By now, we're carrying the rest of the.
It's heavier too. Look at from here to here. You just got a single note at the bottom bass clef. Now you got boom. The octaves. Now let's look at a completely different show, completely different vamp.
Yay.
Yeah.
Notice the leading note. Ba-dum, now this one's definitely a vamp till ready. He can do whatever he wants up there. So, okay, very different. The top line has the tenuto marks, correct? So it's very heavy on the top. It's all the way through. There's no syncopated beats. It's boom, 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 boom. And it's the bass clef that does all the work this
What
time.
are those called, those markings like that?
Tenuto?
Tenuto.
To pull or to hold?
Now, what do you think these like lead-in notes here do? The dotted eighth notes.
They give the singer the cue when they can come back in.
Okay, good. Good, good. And you're like, here it is. Here it is.
Well, it's great because it's that, it feels like some of those flapper movements too. It's got a kind of like feel to it rather than it all being so straight. It's got like a hippie-ness to it.
Yeah,
It seems the
it has a
playfulness.
tease kind of
Yeah,
feel to it, yeah.
Notice we have a lot more action, a lot more ink on the paper this time.
And we're in 3/4.
Now think of the feeling that it's trying to evoke. Okay, I think it's gonna play again, but all right, a lot more. We got these triplet. Now, we'll talk about later, Kiss of the Spider Woman was very operatic in nature, but, you know, this actually does kind of have a much different
Tango
feel.
feel to it.
Yeah.
A what?
A Spanish tango
Like a
feel.
guitar.
Yeah.
And it has the feeling of like spinning a web.
Yes,
Sorry.
yeah, exactly.
These are the most popular ballets they did for the Ballet Russe tour in America. Les Sylphides, Cléopâtre, such a hard word, Scheherazade, Petrushka, Le Spectre de la Rose, L'après-midi d'enfant, and Le Sacre du Printemps.
Great.
Thank you. Now you can see the artists that were collaborating within the realms of these ballets. So you have Chopin, you have Stravinsky, you have Debussy. Obviously Fokin is all down there, and then you see Nijinsky starting to really make his impact into, into the choreography. But notice they came in 1915, so all of these ballets have been created before they even came to America. And also the set and costumes and artwork, you talk of Benoit and Bax. But then you even got more into Pablo Picasso and Henri Matisse. Leonid Massine was a choreographer, kind of like a protege to Diaghilev, but he was a choreographer. Ravel, Strauss, Tchaikovsky. Lots of words. So here you can see just, you know, the amount and the type of art that they were creating here, and the artists they were pulling. Amazing, amazing, astounding work. Not just for ballet, but for art in general. His long limbs made it look like that. Like, whoa, how is he doing that? He had this very telling move, or something that he used a lot, where he would and jump up in the air, kind of what you see on the handout here. And it looked like he was flying almost. Like where he was so high up and he tucked his legs up so high and he even held them sometimes. It looked like he was floating. Kind of like Nijinsky, and actually it was called the Jazz Nijinsky. Is that he would float up in the air and then drop down. But he really wasn't going super high. He was just tall to begin with. He was it was my height. As you can tell, 5'10", 5'10", 145 pounds, 140 pounds, I'm 130. Size 7.5 shoe, I'm a 9.5. Large nose, gotcha. Large ears, yes, and long legs, absolutely. And if I could show you some of the reviews that I used to get in Cleveland, I was compared to Ray Bolger or the Scarecrow over and over and over again. It's just being able to use your lips.
What a compliment.
But like I said before, it was all about control. Bolger has often been described as the past master of the art of being gracefully awkward. The humor of his dancing comes from his apparent confusion and lack of complete control of his body, especially of a pair of legs that seem unusually long in comparison with the rest of the body. The legs sometimes buckle, he seems to lose a little balance, his feet slip as if he had just trod on a banana skin, or he comes out of a spin somewhat in a tizzy. He smiles sheepishly, but it is of course all part of the Bolger act. An act that succeeds only because it is completely in control. He knows exactly what he's doing. It looks like he's going to fall down, kind of like the Scarecrow, but he knows exactly where he's going with it. Which brings us to videos. Now I have a few clips from different movies.